There is a quiet, magnetic power in a woman revealing her favorite position. It is not merely a matter of angles, rhythm, or technique. It is far deeper than physicality. When she shows you, through words, through subtle shifts of her body, that she has a preference, she is offering you a key to a hidden room inside her, a space where vulnerability and desire intermingle, where she feels most alive. She is telling you in the most intimate way that this is where she opens herself fully, where energy and sensation converge, where she trusts you to witness her unguarded self. And if you are truly attentive, if you are present in the way that demands more than the surface, then what lies before you is not just a position. It is a portal into memory, one she will carry with her long after the night has ended. Her favorite position is never random. It carries intention, whether conscious or subconscious. Perhaps it is where she feels safe, perhaps where she regains a sense of control, or perhaps it is the point where surrender feels effortless, unburdened, pure. There are layers to it, subtle currents that can easily be overlooked if you are only attuned to your own desire. The true alchemy begins when you notice these layers, when you allow yourself to respond not only to what is visible, but to what is implied, to what vibrates beneath the surface. Presence, attentiveness, and genuine curiosity transform what could be mechanical movement into an encounter that lingers, a memory that refuses to fade. Presence is the first element, and it is everything. Too many approach intimacy like a practiced routine, as if repetition could substitute for depth. But she will know instantly if your engagement is mechanical, if your mind drifts elsewhere, if your attention is divided. Presence magnetizes. It is the silent declaration that, in this moment, nothing exists outside of the two of you, that she alone commands your focus, and that you are committed to transforming what is familiar into something extraordinary. Let your eyes meet hers if the position allows it, and if she closes them, let your touch speak in their place, exploring every curve and contour as if each were a secret revealed for the first time, as if each were sacred ground you are honored to traverse. Then there is rhythm, but not in the simplistic sense of tempo or stamina. True rhythm is harmony. It is the subtle alignment with her breath, with the rise and fall of her chest, with the tension that gathers in her muscles and the sighs that escape her lips. To move in rhythm with her is to become part of a conversation her body has been waiting to have, a dance of unspoken understanding, of attunement that requires patience, sensitivity, and flexibility. In such harmony, she feels seen and understood without a single word, free to go deeper into the experience because she senses you are not merely performing, but participating, responding, and resonating with her at every level. Yet presence and rhythm, though foundational, are only the beginning. What you do with your hands, your lips, your voice matters as much as how you move. Let your hands explore her as if discovering uncharted territory, alternating firmness with gentleness according to her signals. Let your lips communicate what words cannot, brushing against her neck, whispering affirmations, revealing the intoxication her presence ignites in you. In moments of intimacy, words can carve themselves into memory in ways that mere sensation cannot. Imagine her recalling not only the physical fulfillment you offered, but the emotional resonance your voice and touch created, the way your devotion felt tangible, the way it enveloped her entirely. There is power in unpredictability, in subtle, considerate surprise. Even in her most familiar position, you can elevate the experience into something unforgettable. Change tempo when she expects it, vary intensity when she anticipates repetition, explore new sensations without compromising her comfort. In doing so, you provide a balance between the familiar and the novel, awakening both body and imagination. The key is emotional currency. Men too often overlook that intimacy is more than a physical act. It is a deeply emotional exchange. The moments that imprint themselves in memory are rarely just tactile. They are emotional. When your touch, your gaze, your words, and your energy collectively affirm her desire, her safety, her power, her worth, you transcend physicality and enter the realm of spiritual connection, where memory becomes indelible. Intentionality cannot be overstated. Her favorite position situates you at a nexus of vulnerability and ecstasy. How you approach this moment, whether with care or carelessness, defines how she experiences it. Reverence transforms the act from a fleeting indulgence into a sacred ritual, a shared transcendence. Treat her position as a temple, a space worthy of attention, respect, and devotion. Let every gesture, every kiss, every movement convey that this is about both of you, a communion rather than a conquest. And within this sacred space lies aftercare, an extension of presence that must continue even in stillness. Gentle strokes, soft kisses, tender holds, these acts communicate attunement and patience, a savoring of every fragment of the moment, reinforcing trust and embedding memory into the deepest layers of her psyche. Intensity, too, is transformative, but not as a measure of force. True intensity is authentic passion, whether subtle or fierce, and its power lies in its genuineness. Performances fade, real desire endures. When your hunger is sincere, she senses it, mirrors it, amplifies it, creating a shared crescendo that echoes beyond the physical. Authenticity is magnetic, and it is remembered long after gestures are forgotten. Yet unforgettable intimacy is not about doing more. It is about being more present, more intentional, more attuned, more honest, more alive. In stepping into her favorite position with awareness, you are stepping into her inner sanctum, and your choice in that moment, how you move, how you touch, how you exist, can ignite an imprint she carries with her for life, a measure against which all future encounters will be compared. And then there is anticipation, subtle, exquisite, transformative. Anticipation is not delay for control's sake. It is a deliberate orchestration, a weaving of tension and release that keeps her senses suspended, yearning, alert, and exquisitely sensitive. Pause when she expects movement, whisper when silence is anticipated, shift when predictability sets in. This is the art of orchestrating her desire, creating a dynamic where her body, her mind, and her heart are all drawn into a thrilling interplay that she cannot forget. Attention to detail enhances this. Notice how her breath shifts with subtle adjustments, how her hands explore or cling, how her eyes react to minor changes in touch or tempo. These nuances are the language of desire, and mastery of them allows you to speak directly to her body, bypassing words entirely. Vulnerability is another cornerstone. Too often, men expect it from her but neglect their own. By showing your unguarded self, your raw hunger, your true emotion, your devotion, you invite her into a space of mutual exposure. Vulnerability builds bridges between souls, and in her favorite position, those bridges become permanent fixtures in memory. Stillness complements this, a pause that allows intimacy to breathe. Motion has its place, but stillness, holding her, feeling her warmth, tracing her skin, conveys presence, devotion, and connection without a single word. These moments often echo louder than the acts themselves, engraving the experience into the deepest chambers of recollection. Creativity elevates familiarity into artistry. Even within a position she knows intimately, subtle variations, shifts in angle, integration of touch, incorporation of voice, renew the experience, refusing routine the power to dull the moment. Your voice, in particular, becomes an instrument, a vehicle for desire. Tone, depth, softness, growl. Each modulates her experience, etching the memory into her mind. Generosity, too, is transformative, giving without expectation, immersing fully in her pleasure, establishing trust that fosters attachment, and reinforcing that her fulfillment is your priority. In parallel, restraint, the art of pacing, of savoring, of prolonging delight, magnifies intensity, allowing each crest of pleasure to feel more profound, more complete, more unforgettable. Physical intimacy does not conclude when the act itself ends. It extends into the moments that follow, into the stillness that cradles the echo of your shared experience. When her favorite position has reached its apex, do not detach. Do not retreat into exhaustion or distraction. Remain present. Hold her close. Trace the contours of her skin as if committing every detail to memory. Kiss her forehead with reverence. Whisper remnants of desire that linger like a promise. Let your breath mingle with hers in a rhythm that acknowledges both the intensity of what is past and the tenderness that sustains it. This afterflow is not trivial. It is where memory takes root, where the emotional resonance of the encounter solidifies into something she will carry with her long after you have parted, where trust deepens and attachment blossoms. It is in these gentle continuations, in the quiet reassurance of your devotion, that the full weight of unforgettable intimacy reveals itself. There is a subtle, almost sacred power in allowing the intimacy to bleed beyond the physical, in making the postlude as intentional, as charged, and as reverent as the act itself. She will feel this. She will notice. She will remember. The layering of presence, rhythm, touch, anticipation, and vulnerability builds a foundation. But it is the weaving together of contrast, energy, and emotional authenticity that elevates the experience from memorable to indelible. Contrast is an art form, subtle yet profound, knowing when to be firm and when to soften, when to speak and when to allow silence to resonate, when to guide and when to surrender. These nuances mirror the duality inherent in her own desires. She longs to feel the spectrum of her own power reflected in your awareness, to experience both delicacy and intensity, control and abandon, the gentle and the overwhelming. To create such a multidimensional experience requires keen attention and empathy, a willingness to perceive and respond to the subtle shifts in her body, her voice, her breath, her gaze, and her energy. When she experiences this full spectrum, she does not merely recall a position or an act. She recalls a journey, an orchestration of sensations, emotions, and presence that feels whole, complete, and irreducibly hers. Energy, too, is a silent communicator, a force that underpins every motion and every pause. It is invisible yet palpable, perceived not through sight, but through intuition, through the body's innate sensitivity to attunement and intention. Impatience, distraction, or self-consciousness corrupt the moment and fracture memory. Devotion, reverence, and authentic passion solidify it. Your energy shapes the landscape of the experience, coloring her perception of your touch, your voice, your gaze. She may not consciously recognize why a moment feels different with you than with another, but she will feel it in her core. This is why technique alone is insufficient. The memory of a touch is fleeting. The memory of shared energy is permanent. It lingers in the nervous system, in the heart, and in the subtle folds of the mind where desire and emotion intertwine. The one who masters this, who understands that his presence, his energy, and his attentiveness are inseparable from action, creates experiences that do not fade. They resonate across time and memory, like a song that plays quietly in the background of her consciousness, returning unexpectedly but always profoundly. Mutual vulnerability deepens the connection in ways that are often overlooked. Men frequently demand openness from women while concealing their own emotions, masking desire behind a veneer of control or performance. To be unforgettable, one must dismantle this barrier. Allow her to see the breadth of your passion, the sincerity of your yearning, the authenticity of your emotional presence. Let her witness your unguarded self, your raw intensity, your genuine devotion. This is not a display for ego or validation. It is an offering of trust and reciprocity. Vulnerability creates a bridge between two souls, a conduit through which intimacy transcends the corporeal and becomes spiritual. And when this exchange occurs within the sanctuary of her favorite position, the memory solidifies into something unshakable. She will not forget the man who allowed himself to be fully present, fully exposed, fully devoted in that space. She will associate you with freedom, with trust, with the rare permission to surrender completely without fear of judgment or abandonment. Stillness, often undervalued, amplifies the significance of every movement, touch, and breath. There is immense potency in pausing, not merely for rest, but as an intentional act of presence, holding her, allowing the warmth of your bodies to communicate beyond words, pressing foreheads together, letting the rhythm of your heart sink for a moment is an intimate language that is both primal and sacred. These intervals of stillness allow the body to imprint, the mind to absorb, and the spirit to recognize the depth of connection. In these moments, she comprehends that intimacy is not merely mechanical or transactional. It is a communion of beings fully attuned to each other. These quiet intervals are the mortar that cements memory, the spaces in which presence, anticipation, passion, and tenderness coalesce into an experience that transcends time, leaving a lasting imprint far beyond the act itself. Creativity in intimacy is the refusal to allow familiarity to become mundanity. Within her favorite position exists infinite possibility. Shift angles, explore new sensations, layer touch and voice, integrate whispers and kisses in unexpected harmonies. Each variation communicates attentiveness, effort, and a commitment to her pleasure that surpasses the ordinary. Creativity need not be grandiose. It is in the refusal to repeat, in the deliberate expansion of known territory, in the artistry of transformation that turns a position from a static act into a dynamic, living, unforgettable experience. When paired with the use of voice, subtle moans, whispered affirmations, names breathed between kisses, and the cadence of shared breath, the effect is profound. The resonance of your voice can imprint memory as deeply as any touch, lingering as a melodic reminder of desire and devotion. She may forget precise movements, yet the sound, the tone, the emotional punctuation of your presence will echo in her mind. Generosity and restraint function in tandem to magnify the impact. Generosity is the selfless giving of attention, pleasure, and emotional presence, free from expectation of reciprocation. It is a declaration that her satisfaction, her fulfillment, her pleasure, and her ecstasy are paramount. And in such devotion, she perceives and internalizes your value in a way that lingers. Restraint is the art of pacing, of tempering intensity, of allowing anticipation to build, of stretching moments into what feels like eternity. Through restraint, each wave of pleasure rises higher, each subtle shift of touch or movement accumulates into crescendo, each glance and whisper acquires gravity. The combination of generosity and restraint cultivates anticipation and fulfillment, imbuing each act with weight and meaning that lingers long after physical contact has ceased. It is in this balance that unforgettable intimacy thrives, where the encounter transforms into memory, memory into longing, longing into enduring emotional connection. Finally, the culmination of all these elements, presence, rhythm, touch, anticipation, contrast, energy, vulnerability, stillness, creativity, voice, generosity, and restraint, creates a tapestry of experience that transcends the merely physical. Intimacy, when approached with intention, reverence, and authenticity, becomes an imprint on the soul. It lingers in ways that are subtle yet profound, shaping her expectations, coloring her memories, and setting a standard against which all future encounters will be measured. She will recall not only how her body felt, but how she felt fully alive, fully seen, fully desired, and fully cherished. She will remember the interplay of motion and stillness, the cadence of breath, the reverberation of your voice, the subtle shifts of touch, the vulnerability exchanged, the energy projected, the spectrum of contrast navigated, the generosity of spirit, the artistry of creativity, and the sacredness of your attention. These are not fragments. They are the composite of unforgettable intimacy. She will carry it with her, not as a mere recollection, but as a part of herself, a standard for what it means to be desired, honored, and loved in the deepest sense. Each time memory surfaces, she will revisit the space you created together, the sanctuary of her favorite position, and she will feel the resonance of every choice you made, every subtle intention you carried, every ounce of presence you offered. This is the essence of unforgettable intimacy, the ability to elevate the physical into the emotional, the ordinary into the extraordinary, the fleeting into the eternal. When she recalls that experience, she will not simply remember a position. She will remember a man who was fully there, fully attuned, fully invested in her being, and in doing so, she will never forget you.